I gotta try out this Painted by Esther blush technique that's been going viral for, unfortunately, kind of all the wrong reasons, you could say. I'm not gonna get into the makeup drama news of it all because I simply just don't have time for that. But the one silver lining that I do feel has come out of this situation is that people seem to be very adamant on giving Esther her flowers for popularizing this blush technique. So I'm very happy to see that, and I tend to agree with the dominant public sentiment, which is that Patrick Ta is a snake who tried to steal and capitalize off of her popularized technique without giving her proper credit. It's colonizer behavior. So at first I wasn't sure if I would be able to do this technique because it requires you to have basically like a deeper and a brighter shade of the same color in either a liquid or a cream blush format. Now, as far as cream blushes go, the only one that I've been kind of fixated on lately is this Milky Rose by Dear May, and it's in this really cute, bright Barbie pink, slightly purplish leaning blush. I thought it was more lilac at first, but now that I look at it, it's more so of a cool tone pink. And so that's gonna be my brighter blush shade. For the deeper one, I was kind of like trying to rack my brains. How am I gonna come up with something that can work with this color? Because none of my other cream blushes are in this particular color family. But then I realized that I still had this palette from the Amuse and Hello Kitty collection. So this is a lip and cheek dual formula. Actually, any formula in makeup is dual purpose or multi-purpose, but this one is explicitly stated to be so. And I was actually going to declutter this palette, to be honest with you, because I was not impressed with the formula at all. It was very waxy and definitely didn't work well as a lip color. But now that I know about this technique by Painted by Esther, I wonder if I can't get some more use out of this product that I originally wrote off as the formula just not working for me. I'm thinking maybe with this particular technique, I could actually get some good use out of this palette and make the formula look decent. So I'm gonna go with this deeper berry shade here. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to put it on the back of your palm to warm it up. Another reason that I think this blush technique is perfect for this particular item that I have is that the pans here are kind of too small for me to dip a blush brush in anyway. So since this technique calls for you to basically blend things out on the back of your hand, I think that's a good amount there. And you're supposed to go in with a fluffy blush brush or face brush. The one that Esther uses is larger, but I'm just gonna use what I have, so my tools and products are not going to be like exactly what the technique calls for. But again, that's the beauty of trying out new makeup techniques as opposed to having to buy a specific new product or formula to achieve a look, because you can really like customize and make it work for you depending on what you have on hand in your already existing collection. So you're supposed to just take this color on the apples of your cheeks and kind of spread it, diffuse out the edges like so. Esther says try not to take the blush out past the edge of your eyebrow, which is a rule that I tended to always follow anyway with my blush. I always felt like it was a really good, reliable visual trick to do to make sure that my face doesn't veer into super wide pancake face territory. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that like an essential part of her technique is something that I already arrived to on my own individually or independently. I guess it just shows that great minds think alike. All right, so this is actually a lot more demure, a lot more lighter than I thought it would be, but I like how it blended out really smoothly. I think part of that is because of the style of brush that we're using. That's great. I'm just happy that I found like another way to effectively use this palette that I was about to get rid of, because this was not cheap, okay? None of my makeup is these days, even the drugstore stuff. Like, it's gotten to the point where if you've been following my makeup habits this year, there haven't really been many as compared to previous years, because I just got to the point where I'm like fed up, and I don't want to say offended, but yeah, borderline offended sometimes at the prices that they dare to be charging us for some of these things, especially if it's not a high-end brand, or even the high-end brands. I feel like if the drugstore brands are having all this new audacity with regards to raising all their prices across the board, then you know that the high-end brands are not holding back either. So it's gotten to the point where like my self-respect almost in a way trumps the FOMO feeling of like wanting to have every single new release and product and wanting to be in the know. I'm so over it now because I just feel like, okay, you guys are blatantly playing in our faces with these prices, and this is like my hard-earned money that I need to allocate to more important things at the moment. Okay, so the second step is that you take a concealer. I don't have a liquid one, unfortunately, which I feel would work better with this particular technique, but again, we're just going to use what we have. So you just put it like here and then around the edge of your nose. And she says blend it out with a powder puff, which I don't have a clean one, so I'm just going to use the sponge that comes with my Florasis cushion foundation. And you use that to blend out the concealer so that this area right here creates like a seamless transition shade into before it actually gets to, you know, the intense blush part of your face. So that's where the whole like naming controversy comes from as well with the Patrick Ta case. The fact that he went out and trademarked the name transition blush to make sure that he could capitalize off of this trend that was originally popularized by a black makeup artist, painted by Esther. All right, so I feel like that kind of erased the first layer of blush that I put down. I don't think it's necessarily supposed to erase anything. It was supposed to create like a transition shade, but again, if I had the exact tools and products needed, I'm sure this would come out maybe better looking, but I'm just working with what I have. So I'm gonna take my brighter shade of lilac leaning pink now. And then what you do is you're supposed to go in with the powder puff. All right, I'm just gonna dip directly into the pan actually to make sure we get that pigment. Ooh, that's a lot. But yeah, I'm obsessed with this type of like opaque pinkish lilac shade lately with a cool tone base. Okay, I feel like that's a lot. That's a huge surface area. Maybe I didn't necessarily mean to spread it that far across my face, but I think the biggest benefit of this technique that I can tell you right now before we go to the final step is how seamless and yeah, just like blended and smooth everything is. Because a lot of times when you try to go in with just one shade or you use your fingers to blend, like I tend to do, it can come off patchy, especially if you're going for like a really, really bright flush of color like this. Yeah, the fact that it's like really intense and the surface area that the blush is covering is really wide, but there's no patchiness, and you can see like really close up here. It's just a really smooth, even, unbroken swath of color across your entire cheek. That's something that you're not going to achieve with just the simple everyday like tap 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 with a finger, and especially with this color. Because I'll be honest with you, even this blush, although I was really drawn in by the color at first, that's why I picked it up, I kind of got demotivated from using it after the first initial couple of times because I just felt like it was too much work to apply it the traditional way, either with my finger or just like one layer with this shade alone and a face puff. So definitely layering it on top of that slightly deeper blush shade this way has given me much more of that like opaque impact, seamless flush of color that I wanted. So then the last step, you're supposed to set it with either a translucent powder or like a matching pinkish powder. I have this purple one and this pink one from Flower Nose. I think I'm gonna go with the purple because if you look at the shade of the blush residue on my puff here, it kind of clashes with the pink of the powder. The purple will mix more harmoniously, and this one is probably more like translucent as well. So I'm gonna take some powder. I probably need more, but there's like this netting here that prevents too much from falling out. You just use that to kind of like press it in. I think that's another aspect of this technique that makes it so well, is that instead of like brushing the product on or trying to, you know, swirl it too much against your skin, it's more of an emphasis on pressing the product into your skin. So I think that also helps with like getting your blush to turn out really opaque and even like this. Blush is set. I love the way that that turned out. I'm gonna do the rest of my makeup off camera to save time, and I'll be right back. Whew. Okay, so here's the finished look. I feel like it's giving exactly what it needs to give. Yeah, this Painted by Esther blush technique definitely checks out. It's one of those things where like the finished effect, the finished product is so smooth and so seamless that you kind of have this false sense. It gives you this false sense that, oh, this should be achievable by just using one shade of blush, like one little, you know, surface layer application. When in reality, this type of like opacity and evenness, it takes layering. It takes like pressing in, you know, different layers of blush into your foundation, into the rest of your makeup several times to build up that opacity. But yeah, if you have any... Are you kidding me? Of course, they started the noisiest construction ever directly on my apartment building, apparently, as I was closing out my video. But yeah, there's not much more to say. Just to note, my eye look here, it's giving very like late 90s, early 2000s alt purplish pink, was created using these purplish pinks down here in my new Ellis Atlantis palette from Blend Bunny, which I waited 3 long weeks for with international shipping, but it's finally here and I'm so excited to create more looks with the palette. But yeah, as far as the Painted by Esther blush technique, now I totally understand why everyone is saying that in Esther we trust, because this is definitely my type of blush blindness going on here. So thanks for watching and I'll catch up with you later. Bye.